Hello there, and happy holidays to you from me and my buddy Bruno here. Now, we're clearly feeling the Christmas spirit here at It's Not That Deep. This is my wonderful team. Shout out to Jupiter the Rottweiler there, that's my amazing editor. But the end of the year is a ceremonious time for pretty much every culture, it seems, so whatever holiday you're celebrating right now, I hope you have the best month one can possibly have in this wild-ass year. Now for me, the Christmas season starts November 1st, right after Halloween. Yes, I am one of those people, but you nerds get to make Halloween your entire personality, and you spend all year talking about it, so y'all gonna give me my 2 damn months, and y'all gonna deal with it. But now that the rest of you are finally caught up, we can get this season kicked off right by talking about none other than Christmas movies. Obviously, I have a ton of faves, so I split it up between 2 videos, one being the one that you're watching right now, and another one that I will post the week of Christmas itself. And don't worry, it won't be all Christmas all month long. I will split it up with some regular videos about some regular shows that you can watch at any regular time of the year. But for this week, it's Christmas time, baby. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm gonna get this started off with a movie that admittedly is not even technically a Christmas movie. Rise of the Guardians, released in 2012, directed by Peter Ramsey. Yes, that Peter Ramsey who gave us the utterly wonderful Into the Spider-Verse, which I have not stopped thinking about since it came out. What a moment I will never forget. That one's clearly an animation heavyweight, so I'll be keeping him on my radar. Now again, Rise of the Guardians is not technically a Christmas movie since it's about all of the holidays and the Guardians behind them. But Santa Claus is a major character, so if Die Hard gets to be a Christmas movie, then this one does too, easily. One of the many things I really love about this movie is the way that it characterizes the different Guardians in some very fun ways. So you have like the Easter Bunny, who is this like tall, buff, kind of grumpy Australian, but not a kangaroo, despite the accent. Tooth Fairy is this adorable little nerd who takes dental health very seriously, and why shouldn't she? And is very clearly a Virgo in the way that she organizes her tooth collection and coin distribution system. And then of course the big man himself, Santa Claus, who goes by North here and is a big old tatted up bearish dude with a thick Russian accent. Daddy alert! Not my daddy, but someone's daddy. And can't forget my personal favorite, Sandman, who doesn't speak and communicates only in symbols that form above his head. Because, you know, dreams are usually nothing more than symbolism, right? See? Brilliant. And he just adorably floats on his little golden dust cloud every night, weaving lovely dreams for all the sleeping children. He is my baby. Must protect him at all costs. And what I find so cool about this movie is that their, let's call it holiday magic, also works well as superpowers, so they come equipped for battle, essentially. So the action scenes turn out to be pretty kick-ass, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, even the cutest Guardians come ready for that action, okay? Tooth Fairy clocked old boy right in the mouth in that one scene, and then Sandy was just ready to deck a child. So, like, Easter was like, Sandy, take him out, and Sandy went like he was just ready to knock him out. Like, he had to be reminded that he can put people to sleep magically, and nah, Sandy said, fuck them kids. And then Tooth gave Pitch a coin for his trouble. And when Pitch looked at her like, huh? She went, pow! And then collected his tooth right after. So I just love everything about this movie. It is so cute and fun and creative. But on a serious note, what is so clever about it is how it uses Jack as a sort of anchor, so to speak, for its emotional arc. It could have easily just been about the Guardians keeping the boogeyman from terrorizing the babies. But instead it gives us Jack's journey to becoming a Guardian as making him sort of a character that audiences can latch onto, and it really increases the personal impact as he struggles to figure out his role in all of this. And it's great because he's not really connected to any holiday or event like the others are, he's just the snow day guy. So it's really clear how he would feel, you know, when he comes into this world, how he would feel like he didn't belong, like he didn't really belong with the others doing what they do, why he would feel so cast out for so long as opposed to the others where it seems like, you know, the moon brought them back as Guardians and they just kind of knew what to do. He spent 300 years meandering like, why am I here? So that connected really well. So between this and Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Ramsey is really showing us the magic of animation and what it can bring to storytelling, I feel like. And on the one hand, just because something is targeted at kids doesn't mean it's not good, right? And I think we're seeing that with shows like Steven Universe. But also, on the other hand, there are just things story-wise that can be done in animation that that can't be done as effectively in live action. Like, imagine Into the Spider-Verse as a live action film. I don't think it wouldn't hit the same. It's a different medium with its own strengths and its own shortcomings, and so I'd really just like to see it be respected equally among its peers. And yeah. So anyway, that's my sermon on that. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now. So the next movie is Netflix's big movie that it released last year, Klaus, written and directed by Sergio Pablos. I wanted so badly to watch it last year, but I just couldn't get around to it in time, and then the season ended and I just couldn't bring myself to watch it for the first time when it wasn't Christmas. So I waited, and man, was it worth the wait. You'll hear me say this a lot, to the point where it will become increasingly clear that it's a useless gauge for how good a movie is or isn't, but I wept so hard during this movie. The thing about this movie, though, was that it wasn't even particularly sad. Like, it had its very sad moments, do not get me wrong. The stuff with Klaus and Lydia just absolutely wrecked me. But a lot of the time I was crying just because it was so cute. Like, there's a part early in the movie when the kids are doing good deeds to stay off the naughty list, where one of the kids writes in one of his letters, "I cleaned Dad's clarinet. I hope I did a good job." And something about the way the little baby voice actor delivered that line with like maximum cuteness just tore me apart. It was so good. Like, it was just so sweet and so pure, and I just couldn't handle it. Like, that's just how I was the entire movie, as the town started cleaning up and the magic started returning to everybody, and the townspeople started being kinder and friendlier and neighborlier to each other. I'm such a cornball for this, but it was hitting for me. I think a lot of that could be chalked up to the movie's subtlety. Like, it never felt heavy-handed. A lot of the themes were communicated through subtext or even just visually. So, like, what we get mostly early on is that this toy delivery system and the lore that Jesper's built up around it is really changing the whole town's dynamic. But we're in his perspective, and all he really sees at first is that the kids are getting really invested in these letters. So what we, the audience, gets is just little tiny hints at first. So we go from the two kids who are essentially getting re-educated by the elders about not playing with each other, which is a really great sequence, because it's like, yeah, these kids don't know nothing about nothing. This whole feud is silly and arbitrary and totally unnecessary, but they're being taught to fight each other. A true act of goodwill always sparks another. And that's not even said out loud at this point in the movie, I don't think. I think it comes later, but already before it's even said, we're seeing it in action. And it's not until Alva drags Jesper to the town square that we really see the impact of what he's been doing and what these toys and all of it has done for this whole town. It's a completely different Smearensburg than the cold, dark, place that we arrived at. And I just love that whole progression. And that's where the real brilliance of the movie is for me, I think, is how much power it lays in the hands of children and how the adults really end up learning more from the children. And what I find so sweet is like, yeah, okay, they are technically doing good things to get toys in return, but nobody tells them what good is. They define that for themselves. So yeah, Jesper chastises that one kid for throwing a snowball at him and calling him names, but ain't nobody tell them to do chores, to start helping their family out with chores around the house and stuff like that. They came up with that all on their own. So it's less like bribery or tit for tat, and it's really just, positive reinforcement, which is a legitimate child-rearing strategy. And that ending, when Klaus says, "I'm coming, love," that fucking broke me. I was a wreck. So I'd been watching it late at night, and I didn't want to alarm my roommate, so I'd been, doing my best to stifle my cries. But when he said that, it was a wrap. I was done. and then his spirit returns to keep the tradition alive, going annually, and Jesper says, "And once a year, I get to see my friend." And yeah, it tears me apart. So that was just exquisite. I see why this damn movie was nominated for Academy Award. My God. And then last, but certainly not least, was another one of Netflix's big Christmas movies. They really are taking over, aren't they? This one released just last month, Jingle Jangle. So remember how I said that I cry so much on movies that it'll come to mean absolutely nothing to you? Yeah, I pretty much cried the entire last 45 minutes of this film, and then the next day I showed it to my roommate, or we watched it together because she absolutely had to see it. And that time I cried pretty much the entire way through. And again, I'm sorry to be such a cornball, but it was so sweet and so wholesome that at the end I just felt warm inside. Not outside, because it's fucking cold right now, but on the inside, definitely. It had a very touching story at its center, but it's also so fun and whimsical. I already love steampunk. I love that aesthetic, the motif, the whole thing. And then on top of that, you had these gorgeous visual effects. So this movie was just visually stunning. And then you had an all-black cast on top of that. Like, yes, honey, I was living. The magic math dust that Geronicus and Journey could do was so cool. Like, that part where she does the magic math equation thing and she throws a snowball and it splits into 4, I legit gasped. Like, I'm 32 damn years old and I'm sitting there like, oh, cool. Like, I'm 12 years old again. Like, that's good. And I immediately wanted an RPG with that as an ability class. Like, give me the video game with a black girl inventor mage who uses that math magic dust stuff to attack and defend. Like, I have a mighty need. And the music, oh, I want the soundtrack, because the music for this movie, every song is so good. And I mean, like, the square root of impossible is possible in me. Like, that's a dope ass line. And a lot of the dance sequences gave me the same kind of joy that I feel watching The Wiz. And it was very much giving The Wiz kind of energy. Now, granted, I don't really know musical theater or even movie musicals like that, so The Wiz might just be my only other black movie musical that I know. I'll acknowledge that. But who knew Forest Whitaker could sing? When I heard it was a musical and that Forrest was going to be singing, I was like, all right, you know, hopefully he can hold a tune and they won't give him more than his voice can handle. But, you know, I was ready to just deal with whatever it was he was given for the sake of enjoying the movie. But nah, he threw down. I mean, obviously he's no Anakanoni Rose. Now that woman be singing. And I love how they held her off until the very end so she could really make an entrance. Like, they wanted you to know Annika the Rose has arrived. But he could do a little bit more than just hold a tune, and it really helped deliver his songs. I felt every single one. And hell, they even had Keegan-Michael Key in here singing, and even he wasn't that damn bad. Like, he had a really good, what's essentially a villain song, and it was really good. It was a lot of fun. That boy's so wild. And big shout out to Madeline Mills, who plays Journey. This was her feature film debut, and she absolutely killed it. And that girl can blow too. 11 years old and she's singing like that? Child, I'm keeping an eye on that one. Her and Ali Cravalho from Moana both, because they can sing. And okay, I know I'm all over the place, but can we talk about Miss Johnson real quick though? My God, she was so funny. She was deep in her, hey, Professor Ogilvy bag, and girl, I was living for it. She was just so delightful. She had so many funny lines. And when she started humming after he kissed her, I just lost it. That took me down. Oh, that took me down. I was like, okay, Jill Scott, I see you. She said, let's take a long walk. That's me when I eat food. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like, I start humming hymns when the food is good, and I didn't even go to church like that as a kid. So I'll hum like Amazing Grace, but Destiny's Child's version of Amazing Grace. So yeah, Lisa Davina Phillips though, y'all, give her flowers. She was amazing. Now I just want to talk about how great Forest Whitaker is in this movie. Now I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of his work simply because he's often working in drama, and that's just not a genre I engage like I do others. So maybe this ain't the first time he's sung and danced. But that's also the thing, right? Is like every time I see him, he's very somber and it's all very serious. So it was just really nice and refreshing to see him be able to just let loose and have a little bit of fun. And like, granted, he does still play a bit of a grumpster, but this is a sort of cute, whimsical kind of grumpster. And he balances that really well. Like, he never goes full Forest Whitaker, if you know what I mean. Except for that one scene where he has to bark at Journey, and that was terrifying. But again, it was well placed. He executed it well. Everything about it was perfect. Like, his voice is already really soft, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think he added, like, maybe not an accent, but like a flair to the way he pronounced some words that really, like, just kicked it up a notch for his character. And I just wanted to hug him the entire movie. He was so pure. And I cannot stop thinking about that little jig he does during the Afrobeat snowball sequence. Like, we got Forest Whitaker dancing to Afrobeats. Jeronicus was just a broken, precious cinnamon roll who needed to be put back together again, and I loved it, and I loved his character. And one thing I really appreciated, it was a little subtle thing they did, but they did hold him accountable for the way he abandoned Jessica emotionally. Like, yes, he's still very much a sympathetic character. You know, what Gustafson and that little bastard-ass toy did was dirty. But for as much as he carries on about nobody listening to him and nobody calling him by his own name, he does the exact same thing to other people. You know, he barks at Journey early on about her not listening to him, but she has to fight to get his attention early on. And same thing with Ms. Johnston. You know, she insists on calling him Jerry. It's Jerry! Much to his chagrin. But then he also insists on calling her Mrs. Johnston. It was like, okay, buddy, I do feel sorry for you, but you also are going to have to get your shit together. Like 30 years later, and that shit is still sitting on his spirit completely unresolved, and it's affecting the people around him, people who care about him, you know, his loved ones. And Journey gets him there, and he apologizes and he grows, and baby, that scene where him and Jessica make up, again, fucking wrecked me. No surprise there. I was a mess. Okay, so I know I've been goofing around a lot this whole video, but real talk for just a second, because this is supposed to be a serious platform of film and media criticism. But apparently this movie is part of what Netflix is calling their Representation Matters collection, which, let's just say that phrase has soured for me in the last few years. So when I saw that, I'm not gonna lie, it gave me a bit of pause. I was like, all black cast, representation matters, please don't somehow find a way to make what should be a fun and whimsical Christmas movie somehow about police brutality and racism. Like, please. There were some very subtle generational and ancestral elements to it. So like you have Journey passing down the story of Jeronicus to his great-grandchildren, which I think is a very important part of black stories and black storytelling. And then of course you have the magnificent hairstyling. Journey's hair is so cool. I want to be like her when I grow up. And I actually happened upon an article that talks about the intention behind all the hair in this movie, so I'll link that down below if you're interested in reading it. So it very much is a black movie, just no clumsy attempts at allegories about police brutality and racism. Just a cute little story about family and healing and one impatient little thief who could have avoided this whole mess if he had just waited one more goddamn minute. Shit. So that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to comment down below, but please do keep it respectful. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another one. Thanks again for watching. Share with all your friends. Don't forget to brush your teeth, and I'll see you in the next video.